Marco.
Sean.
Show me your card, man.
I don't know. I don't have my ID.
I want to know who you are.
I wish I knew.
I can't tell from looking at you. I have to look at a card to see that.
Identity is not what it used to be, Sean.
It's
so
not?
I don't know if I am who I think I am or who they say I am. So I don't even know who you are. What I know is that I know our guest, but can you prove that he is who he is?
That's for us to figure out, I guess. Let's see if the tests are passed. Rohit Ghai, it's good to have you on the show. It's been a while. We missed you. How are things?
Things are great, Sean and Marco. Always a great pleasure to be with you guys. And I sensed an identity crisis of some sorts in that opening dialogue. But yeah, absolutely, identity is no longer what it used to be. Absolutely, and you guys will just have to guess during our conversation if this is the real me or if it's a deep fake of me, kind of pretending to be me. So we'll keep you guessing.
But it's not only the idea of really knowing who we are, but also the idea that identity as a concept, it's maybe different now in our digital society where, you could have multiple identity, but at the end, how do you even manage that, especially with new technologies? So I think this is going to be an interesting conversation, and I know is at the core of your presentation during RSA Conference, which that's why we're here. This is one of our chats on the road to tease fantastic talk, keynotes happening there. And so we want to dig into why did you choose this topic to start with?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, my talk is titled The Looming Identity Crisis. And the reason I chose this, it's a play on words a little bit, because I think there are two things that are happening in the cybersecurity industry. First, identity is, I think, getting its rightful place in the world of cybersecurity, and it's sort of gained in prominence, waned in prominence, and all that. But I think increasingly people are realizing that it deserves sort of enough emphasis from a cybersecurity perspective. So that's one idea. The other idea, which is not lost on any of us, is all the rage about artificial intelligence and this emergence of the AI revolution with this enormous power. The genie's out of the bottle. AI is now available very broadly and pervasively, both to the good guys and the bad guys. So in the confluence of those two mega trends, identity becoming center stage in cybersecurity and AI becoming a very powerful, mainstream, highly available technology, what does that mean for you and I and all the humans in the world of cybersecurity and identity? What do identity professionals do? How do they prepare for this sort of future that looms? That's really what I want to hit on. That's what I want to speak to our audience about. And I'll I'll put some ideas as food for thought for the audience. I would not purport to have all the answers, but it's a discussion.
Marco does. Marco has all the answers, so we'll just let him roll with it. Now, I want to take a moment because I've seen this space transform over the years, and the role of identity and what it is and what it's for and who manages it. And I mean, if you look at business versus personal, things change. I know we've had some discussions where kids have multiple identities, right, for different social media platforms. I know I have a few myself that I do certain things with to run the magazine. And I guess olden days, it was about access, and we talked a little bit about this before we jumped on. But what's its role today? How's it transformed, and maybe how has it changed how businesses and security leaders and security practitioners look at identity when they're building out their programs?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I think we've gone through kind of an evolution of our expectations from an identity platform. And we've always had to juggle and balance sort of three aspects of it. There's the access aspect, like give this actor on the network, access to the resources that they need, and make it, the second aspect. So access is one dimension. The second dimension is always, and this came to fore, especially when we started to use mobile devices, is the idea of convenience. Okay, give me access, but don't make it super clunky or inconvenient for me to gain access. Don't get in the way. And then, of course, the third is security. And it's a balance between these three dimensions that we've always had to navigate. And my sense is similar to the, if you think about the smartphone analogy again, we call it a smartphone, but the phoning aspect is just a feature at this point. We use that device to access the internet. So the name belies, doesn't do full justice to what the device is. So I think the term identity and access management no longer does justice to the core purpose of what identity should be, which I think is security. The whole reason it exists is to assure security, because identity is the new perimeter. Identity is the only reason it exists is to assure security. Of course, convenience and of course access are capabilities and features that are very important. But I think that's the evolution that people are, again, when I say identity is center stage again, what I mean is people are realizing that we need to take a security first orientation to the problem of identity.
And speaking of identity crisis, I mean, is our phone us? and then that kind of leads me to, and that might be from a B2C perspective. How do we identify with services we're engaging with? We use that as a second factor, third factor auth. It's how we actually gain access is through that device. And it leads me into the business for employees and partners and things like that, where we're setting up these complex systems that are, yes, accessed by people, but we're also heavily reliant on applications and APIs and services and microservices and open source things that are acting on our behalf. And kind of to your point earlier, where we have AI and machine learning kind of driving decisions for us and then taking action for us. Do we even have an identity in that world? Or is it the machine?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, the identity landscape has become enormously complex. And one dimension that you touched on, Sean, is just this infusion of machine identities, right? There is so much automation in the world that there is proliferation of sort of these machine identities in the network that are acting on our behalf. And these actors are powerful. We give them a lot of entitlement. So governing those entitlements is hugely important. The second aspect of complexity is our IT resources they used to be localized, they used to be in the data center, they used to be on our laptops. The resources that we govern, so proliferation of human and machine actors. There's probably 5 of you, Sean, including an identity that you use to or like in my case, I need a separate identity to, of course, there's work and life. And on the life side, I need a separate identity in order to befriend my teenage daughter. Otherwise, she wouldn't let me befriend her on any social media platform, right? So I need an identity just for that purpose. So a huge number of identities, both machine and human. On the resource side, things are floating, things are moving to the cloud, and things are also becoming very granular. We manage things at a microservice level, right? It's no longer about governing access to a server, not a monolithic concept, but within the application, even inside the application, you want to govern at a microservice level. So it's this explosion of both on the kind of the identity side as well as the resource side, and then mapping all those entitlements. It's a massive problem. And I like to say it's a superhuman problem at this point, because just a human cannot map all these relationships and manage them in any kind of sensible way.
I love that you went there, because I want to kind of dissect the title of the talk, which is the looming identity crisis, and really looking into what you mean when you refer to a crisis. And I want to pinpoint this because I say many times when we look at things from a philosophical perspective, I joke that since when we talk about AI, we talk about the application of it, but it's also a moment that it's not just about the technology. I feel like ethics and philosophers have never been so involved in technology like it's nowadays. So the fact that you choose crisis, I'm very curious to know from what angle are you going to talk about it?
No, thank you, Marco, and absolutely. And let me start by saying what I'm not going to talk about. If you're thinking what I mean by identity crisis is the leakage of a national database of identities, or the leakage of, like the high value individual's identity, like a sort of a president of a nation and their access to all the power they wield. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the role of humans in this world of superhuman intelligence, artificial intelligence, and this confusion we have about our role, the role of humans in that world. Are we going to be relevant anymore? Right? If identity is indeed, if we believe that identity is indeed a superhuman problem, then what are humans to do? What is our role? And that's the kind of the core crux of the topic. It's a very complicated topic because I think at this point, the genie's out of the bottle. People expect machines to have superhuman intelligence. That's, it's just a matter of time until we get to artificial general intelligence. But the problem of how do we align that intelligence to human values, in AI literature, they call it the alignment problem. So it's no longer about solving the intelligence problem. We have sophisticated algorithms, we have huge amounts of data and enormous computing power to drive superhuman intelligence. It's this alignment issue of aligning that intelligence with human values and objectives is a very difficult problem. And I think we humans have to make sure we pay enough attention to that aspect to make sure we get good outcomes in a world where we remain relevant and we continue to have a symbiotic relationship with technology and AI.
Well, for me, that always comes with, I was an engineer and building products, and we always talked about the user story, right?
Yeah.
What are we trying to accomplish? What are the boundaries within that accomplishment? Do we want to stay? Do we need to stay because we're obliged to ethically or morally or lawfully? Mm-hmm. And so well, I don't know if you can maybe give us a little sneak peek of the story you're going to share, but how do users' stories change in the business to where security leaders need to say, okay, these are the places where my story no longer looks like it did 2 years ago or like it will look in 2 years' time. Therefore, here's what we need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I draw the analogy, as we all grow in our careers, Sean and Marco, we, in the initial phases of our careers, we're very focused on doing stuff ourselves. We take pride, the way we associate, the way we think about identity and our self-worth is about what did we accomplish, right? We put a lot of emphasis on that. As we mature through our careers, we start to change and we start to say, what did I empower others to do? What did I teach others to do? And I think in this world of identity, it's similar, and this AI and human identity crisis, I think it's a similar thing where an identity professional today might associate their self-worth based on the number of attestations or entitlement changes or kind of, detecting risky or, access or suspicious access, network access activity. That's how they define their self-worth. I think all of those activities, whether we like it or not, are going to be automated. and will transform. So the job of the identity professional will be assisted with AI, where instead of the human having to do all this stuff, we'll switch to more of a monitoring supervisory role, where they look at, okay, here are the top 3 decisions I need to make, right? So the AI will say, look, you arrive at your desk, AI says, hello, Rohit, you as the identity professionals, here's your workbench for the day. Here are the top 3 entitlement requests that have the highest impact, right? If you were to approve these will be the highest impact ones. So I want you to, this is my recommended action. I have a recommended action for you, but I want you to take a look and make sure you agree. And here's why I have made so, there is also the idea of explainability. One of the challenges we face with AI is a lot of times AI comes up with an answer, but we can't discern why. And so we'll need to address that alignment problem and that explainability problem. So in this, call it the co-pilot model, where the AI is helping me as an identity professional, it'll tell me, here's what I'm recommending, here's why, or here's a why which you might understand as a human, and do you approve or not? So it'll manage my workbench in a way such that I focus on the high value problems or supervise those decisions, as opposed to actually doing those decisions, right? So it's a mentor, it's a supervisory role. We have to get comfortable with this new identity of ours in terms of this, our job is changing. Whether we like it or not, we have to accept that and find comfort in that and prepare for that.
And as you're describing that, Rohit, I'm picturing an orchestra, and there's a conductor, right? And you don't want the brass section to chime in when it's a soft woodwind solo. Right? It's just not going to work. So you want somebody there. Now, of course, all the people in the orchestra kind of know where they are and how loud they should be and all of that. But the conductor really keeps them all together. And so you look for the baton wave, and it says, it's your turn, go. You're that person, you're that role, go for it. And it's not the conductor just standing there waiting for the brass player to play and go, hey, I did say to play. So I think, to me,
I love that analogy. I love analogies.
Orchestration. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's great. I love that analogy, and absolutely right. It's, one could argue that what is the conductor doing at the end of the day? They're not playing any instrument, but they're so consequential to the harmony of the overall picture, right? And the music to sound good.
Yeah, you reinterpret that. I was actually to stick with that, but I have another point. But I was looking at how if a very popular music service, it just started one dedicated to classical music, because the way they were making catalogs and researching regular music when it's played by an artist, so it's easy, it's kind of like the genre. But when you talk about classical music, who is the conductor, who is the soloist, who are the people, because it's not actually the author of the music that is playing it. You're not searching Bach. You're not gonna find Bach playing, right? So I don't know. I can see where Sean is going, but I was thinking about when you use the smartphone idea, and it makes me think about, God, yes, we're still saying smartphone, but we're also still saying horsepower to say how much power there is in an engine, which goes back to the 1700 with the steam engine, and that we need a reference in the real world to actually make it an abstract concept to work. So this brings me to maybe one important question, which is, are we going through this cultural change, embracing technology in our society in the right way, or we're still too driven by technology and not thinking the way we can help society to absorb this new way to look at AI and not be fearful, but welcoming in a new identity? So I don't know if it's very philosophical, but I would love your opinion on it.
Yeah, I'll take inspiration from, there's a recent dialogue on this exact topic, Marco, which was the 60-minute section with Sundar Pichai, where they talked about AI and Google's AI. And, when Sundar was asked the question, similar question, he said, look, what keeps me optimistic is that there are a lot of people who are worrying about the ethical aspect of AI or the preparedness aspect of humans. And while I agree with Sundar that that's a great thing, I don't think there are enough people acting on it yet. There are a lot of people worried about it. There's a lot of media, and you guys are, helping out a lot in terms of making sure there is attention being placed on this topic. But that attention needs to translate to action soon enough, because there will be this hunger for power, the power that the AI yields. Everybody will be attracted to it because of the massive productivity gains. If we can do what we could do, what would take 5,000 PhDs 20 years to accomplish in the protein folding example, if we could do that in a matter of 3 months, of course we're going to be attracted to it. So it'll be this massive sucking sound which will draw all the attention towards that. And as such, while we may be worrying about this ethical thing or this preparedness thing, we may not act on it enough. So I almost feel like some regulatory activity or some mandatory, some form of mandates to make sure, that there is enough action and not just attention placed on that topic actually manifests. And look, I've traditionally been sort of wary of regulatory activity, but in this case, I think we are treading new ground. And I go back to my time frame as a kid, using sci-fi novels and Isaac Asimov's kind of novels about robotics and the 4 laws of robotics and all that. I mean, we need laws of AI and these governance type things to ensure that action actually happens. Otherwise, it'll not, because there'll be so much investment, venture funding, and everything else on just productivity that I think we'll lose focus on the other point.
And do we need laws of identity? I mean, some countries have taken pretty forward-looking steps, even many years ago, to have national identities that are digital. And are we kind of missing the mark there globally on that front, do you think?
I believe we are. I would be very happy with just one law of identity, Sean, which is let's get rid of passwords. Just that one law. If you pass that law, I'm a happy dude. I'm very happy. And look, we've talked about the death of passwords. We now have passwordless technology that I think is industrializable, and yet the reliance on passwords continues. And 83% of cyber incidents on the back of compromised credentials. Like, what more proof point do we need to actually mandate some of this? So again, it's a matter of sort of passion for me, but I absolutely agree. On the identity space, there are some clear set of things that ought to be sort of more mandates versus guidelines.
Yep. Otherwise, we're going to end up in an identity crisis.
You got it. I didn't say it. You said it, John.
And it's looming. Right. It's looming, according to the keynote session title. It's looming, that crisis. And Rohit, you always do an amazing job. We've seen you speak many times, and we love your stories, and we love the inspiration and the insight. And to your point, the actionability, if that's a word, the ability for folks who listen to you and see what you present. The opportunity to take action with what you share. And I mean, we're going to be in Moscone West for most of the week. We're in Broadcast Alley a lot of the time, and we wrap up one of our sessions in time to see your keynote. So I'm very excited for that. That is Monday the 24th, 3:33 local time, Pacific time there, Moscone West, street level. And the big room there. We're looking forward to seeing you, Rohit. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to tease for folks to come when they see you?
No, just appreciated the opportunity to meet and speak to you guys, and looking forward to saying hello on Broadcast Alley. And It's a very exciting time in our industry, and I want to thank you and the broader ecosystem for coming together at the conference and supporting the cause of creating a community of good guys, because we need to band together in order to have a shot at beating the bad guys. So thank you again. Always a pleasure. And look forward to seeing you guys.
Yep.
Absolutely. And Sean, don't forget your business card to get your press pass.
I know.
They want to know who you are.
They need my business card now. If only I had business cards.
If I only we had it.
Maybe one floating around somewhere.
We'll just show a podcast.
That's right.
Well, Rohit, a pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
We're really looking forward to say hi in person. And for those that never heard you speak, it's a real treat. Always fascinated. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And for those listening, you don't need an identity to watch this and all the coverage we have. So stay tuned, itsbmagazine.com/RSAC for many things happening, including Broadcast Alley stuff, and links to Rohit's keynote session, his social profile, so you can connect with him there. And again, Rohit, thanks. We'll see you there.
All right. See ya.